Hello, good evening, everyone. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so once again, very good evening. I guess few more people will be joining in some time. Uh, well, instead of waiting, I think we can discuss whatever you feel, how the quiz was, the quiz one exam for this modern application development 2 course. So I hope all of you would have attempted the quiz. Yeah, so we are happy to hear some feedback from all of you. If any one of you wants to volunteer first. Okay, anyone who wants to give their feedback about the quiz one exam? Was it easy? Was it difficult? Anything? Whatever you feel. Okay, looks like no one is gonna give any comments. Uh, yeah, anyone wants to give any comments on the quiz one exam? Anything that you would feel?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, yes, Harshit.
Yeah, so some of the questions, as I already mentioned in the discourse, were kind of very new to me personally because I already hoped that because as you said that it will be somewhat new or different as the mocks than the mocks. So I was already prepared for that. But some questions really kind of challenged me personally, and it took probably most of the time. I think so. I can say 20 odd minutes were taken for answering 4 to 5 questions, and rest of the time I gave to the questions which were quite easy for me. So it was kind of somewhat on the higher side to the challenging. I would say I would rate it 4 out of 5 in terms of difficulty level. But at the same time, I also understand that there is more room for me to improve in terms of the program. So overall, I do not mind having it challenging as well. So this is my take. I had written the same on discourse as well.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Harshit. Thanks for the detailed feedback. Yes, I read your comment on this course as well. And I think, yes, it is completely fine to have the paper challenging, as you mentioned. Uh, okay, anyone else? Anyone else wants to share their comments or feedbacks for the quiz one exam? We have very few people joined for the session today. Not sure what the reason is. Anyways, okay. So I hope you all will get a good result for the quiz one exam. Hopefully, it will be released in few days going forward. Okay. Anyways, yeah. So let's get started with the today's session. Well, so now we have get back to the recordings again. You have started getting the pre-recorded lectures from week 6 onwards. I think yeah, it's almost 4 or 5 videos in week 6 as far as I can remember. I think 4 videos. So have you all means watched all of the videos for week 6? Okay, how many of you have completely watched the week 6 videos? Is there anyone who is in this call and has watched each and every lecture for week 6? Okay, not yet. All right. I hope all of you would have at least started watching them, not completed. Well, no issues. And what about the assignments or the questions? Anyone tried to answer the questions? Well, not sure how many of you try answering those questions without even watching the lectures, but yeah, anyone else would have tried that answering those questions without watching the lectures completely. Okay, looks like no one. All right. So what we have planned for the today's session is that we'll be walking through the activity and the practice questions for week 6. We'll take whatever queries you may have come across till now. And after that, we will discuss a bit about different types of storages that are available in the browser. So we'll mainly be focusing on the local storage. And yeah, means we can discuss about cookies and session storage as well, but local storage is which we should emphasize more on. Okay, so that will be done in the later part of the session. Firstly, we'll be starting with the activity and practice questions. We'll just walk through each of them and see what can we conclude further. Before that, anyone would like to ask anything? Okay, yeah. So let me just open the dashboard. I hope my screen is now visible to everyone.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, okay. So the first lecture was all about persistent storage. Since we have been learning about Vue, everything is basically local storage, these local states, and means whenever you refresh your app or whatever data that you have will actually be lost. So that means you will be working on your app right from the beginning again. So that's why means we wanted to discuss something about persistent storage and let's see what things we have in the questions for this particular lecture. Yeah, it would be really appreciated if means some of you or even all of you can participate in the discussions that we'll be having for finding out the answers for these activity and the practice questions. So yeah, we'll get started now. So here is the first question. We are right now walking through the questions for lecture 6.1. And the first question here is, which of the following statements is that true about local storage? So I hope all of the options are visible on my screen. You all can see them. So anyone who would like to answer this question?
Sir, I think it's option. It's a client-side storage, and each time the app refreshes, the data will still persist.
Okay, correct. Yeah. So local storage is mentioned in the lecture as well. It is one of the web storage APIs that is mainly used to store the data on the client on the browser. So that's why it is a client-side storage. It is not stored on the server. So that's why it's not a server-side storage. The data stored here can be retrieved across devices. Well, why this statement is not true? Can someone elaborate? Well, simply because local storage is specific to a device. That means the data that you are storing on a browser, that data is not available on a different machine. Doesn't means at least not easily as even it would have been mentioned in the lecture. You maybe there might be some ways through which you can fetch the same data on a different machine by syncing something or whatever. But yeah, it is not a trivial process to do. So that's why the data that is usually stored in the local storage is not accessible on the other devices. And yeah, each time the app refreshes, the data will still persist as it is stored in the user's browser machine. And yeah, so data will persist on subsequent refreshes of the app. The second question is almost okay, something else. Yeah. So in which of the following format data is stored in local storage?
All
A
types.
Boolean, string, all data types, and
All data types.
uh, okay. Are you sure? So if we talk about any type of web storage, let's say local, specifically local storage cookies or the session storage, the data is stored in the string form, right? If you will try to basically store something that is not in the string format, it will implicitly try to convert it into string, or it can, of course, mean affect on the data as well. Let's say if you try to store an object, the store means the object won't get stored, but you will basically get something, object in return. Object means in what I say in English like characters. So yeah, we'll be seeing a demonstration of this. How is it done? And if we try to store some other kind of data types, let's say other than
Sir,
strings. Yeah. Hello.
sir, what is local storage? Either it is cache memory or cookies.
No. It is different from that. See, let me try to show you. If I will right click here and I'll click on inspect, I will go to application tab here. So here you can see the different tabs or the headings for each of those. This is the local storage, this is the session storage, and these are the cookies. Right. So in local storage, it might be storing something. So yeah, something ID token and all. In session storage, there's nothing as of now. In cookies,
Sir,
there might be
your
something.
voice is not coming.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
It
sir.
is.
You are.
Okay. I'm not sure who was speaking that time. Was that Manish? Manish, are you able to hear me now? But not sure. Anyways, okay. Yeah. So basically, in what format we store data in local storage or maybe in session storage or cookies? We usually store it in string format. Okay. So the next question is, which of the following is not a method
Okay, I think Abhishek got disconnected. We'll just give him a moment to connect back. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, we'll just give him a moment to connect back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I got disconnected. Okay. Yeah. Let me start sharing my screen again. Okay. 1 second. Okay, so since I left the meeting, I'll have to be made co-host again so that I can share my screen. Yeah, I will be made co-host shortly. Yeah, so till then, let us just continue a discussion about the local storages. So what I was saying is that local storage it's something that you can basically use in order to store some information on the client side. Now, why do you want to store some information on the client side? The simple reason is that information might not be very much relevant to store it on the server. Right? There might be things that are related to like user preferences, like what the user is visiting most frequently these days or during a specific span. So in that case, means you would want to store that information somewhere so that you can facilitate that user in order to show similar suggestions, right? In order to show what the user has been visiting from quite a while, and you can help the user by showing the similar suggestions. In that case, you would want to store that information somewhere so that you can use that information while displaying the meaningful information. Now, of course, if you want to store the user preferences, something like this for each and every user on the internet, of course, you would require a lot of storage in order to store this much amount of data. So in that case, what we usually do is we store it on the user's machine itself. That means whenever we need it, we can take it from there. And of course, we can save some storage on the server end. Okay, so I think I have now been made co-host. Let me start sharing. Okay.
So, sir, what data to
Sorry.
Connection failed again.
I can hear you, Manish.
Okay, sir. So, sir, what data to store in cookies and what to store in cache memory?
That we
Also,
can discuss.
local storage.
Yeah, that we can discuss. We'll be discussing it shortly. Yeah, once we'll get back to this topic, local storage, session storage, and cookie, we'll be seeing a live demonstration, how to set those cookies and how to set the items in the local storage and how to fetch them back. Then we can discuss like which one is to be used for what purpose.
Yes, sir. And sir, is there any difference between local storage and cache memory?
Yeah, there are differences.
So in browser, when we access any websites, like so they store cookies and as well as they store something in local storage or they store in cache memory.
Yeah. So cache is basically something that is what I say means fastly accessible. A browser can
Temporary
access
type of.
cache memory very fast.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so there is a difference. I think we can discuss it in a later part of this session. I just wanted to finish this activity and practice questions as quickly as
Okay, sir.
possible.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so I think we were discussing this second question. I guess I lost my connection that time. So in what format we usually store the data in local storage or session storage or cookies? It is strings. If we try to some other types of things, let's say object or maybe some kind of array, it won't get actually stored into the memory in the format that, or maybe, yeah, in the format that we wanted it to be stored. And when we will try to fetch the same data, once we need it, we won't get the same data back that we intended to. So we'll be seeing the demonstration that, if you will try to store such information, how do you store it and what are the workarounds so that we can store some complex data structures as well in local storage and these kind of things. But basically, it just takes, even if it is a Boolean or even if it is an object that would be stored as string one. Okay, so the next question is which of the following is not a method associated with the local storage API? So if any one of you would have gone through the documentation of local storage, maybe on the MTN or somewhere else, you would have seen the different types of methods that this API offers. Right, in order to store something, in order to fetch something, in order to see what the length of the data, and some methods to perform certain other functions. So which of these methods is not provided by local storage API? Any guesses? Yeah, remove. So set item is used to store something, store a key value pair in the local storage. Remove is nothing, it is remove item. Clear is used to clear everything from the local storage, while key, you pass an index, key stored at that index, and returns null if that key doesn't exist. So the answer is no. So in which of the below client-side storage, the data can persist even after the browser restart? I guess that has already been answered in the first question. That is local storage. Session storage will get terminated as soon as you close the tab of the browser. Okay, I think we forgot to discuss storage. In the first question, we discussed about local storage. So we saw that it is a client-side storage, and each time you refresh your app, the data will still persist. You can still fetch the same data and can display that information on the screen or use it in whatever way you want. In the same case, if I would have asked you about session storage, what do you feel? Which of these options would have been correct? Let me uncheck. If I'll just replace this local to keyword session here, what do you feel? What all options would be correct in that case?
Only last option will be correct.
Okay, only last option. Each time the app refreshes, the data will still persist. In case of session storage.
C option, sir.
Okay, C option. Not D.
Not A. Data will not be persistent, maybe because when we log into SBI website and we refresh the website, I think we got logged out.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so the only difference that this session and local storage are making here is both are client-side storages. The only difference they make is that the data persistence. Local storage provides us that persistence, while session storage doesn't. In that case, the data, sorry. Okay, yeah. So in case the session storage, only A option would be correct. Because third option is that is can be retrieved across the devices. So of course that is not true. Yeah, and fourth option again becomes wrong since the data is not persistent. All right, so yeah, these were the activity questions for the first lecture 6.1. The next lecture was about form validations. I hope means all of you would have studied or read about form validations a lot, even in the modern application development 1 course, where you would have created many full-fledged web applications using many types of forms and putting different types of validations, even in your final project as well. Yeah, so we'll be just walking through some of the questions that are put in this category. Okay, unfortunately, there is just one. Anyways, yeah. So which of the following form attributes can be used to prevent regular form validation by the browser? Can anyone first try to explain what this question wanted to ask?
So I think it's no validate. And the thing is that during forms have some kind of auto sending back to the server when pressing submit, and we want to stop that. I think that's what the question is asking.
No. it is asking to prevent the regular form validation. For example, if you specify an input attribute to accept only emails, so browser itself will check for certain keywords in the text that you will enter in that particular text input box, like the presence of @symbol, something like that. The default behavior of form is something different that is not being asked in this question. That means once you click on the submit button, that sends a get request.
Okay, sir. Sorry, I got confused with the submit or prevent.
Okay, yeah, no issues. So in that case, we the question asks that there are certain validations that a browser does by its own. Like I just said, in case of an email, if you specify an input tag to accept an email kind of value, it will automatically perform some default validations. Like I just mentioned, it will check for the presence of @ tag in the text that you are supposed to enter, or maybe some certain kind of other things that will be checked by the browser itself. In order to prevent that happening, what we can do is we can use this no validate attribute, and then after that we can put our own validations. We have to set this no validate attribute to true. After that, we can put our own customized validations in order to check what is correct, what is wrong, or whatever it is. And once we are okay, then we can send the request forward. Yeah, so, okay, I think that can be discussed later. Yeah, the next question is about managing components. Well, this will be more targeted towards using Vue CLI. We have not got into that practice as of now, but still, let us try to get a simple overview with the help of questions provided here. I hope you will get introduced to Vue CLI at least in the coming week, in the week 7. Okay. So what happens in case of Vue CLI is that we work with .vue files. Right? In order to define a component, we define all of its properties in a single file itself. Let's say I want to define one component. That component will have some HTML with it. That component may have some styling with it, and that component will have some JavaScript associated. So in that case, let's say we need 10 components. We can create 10 different .vue files, right? In order to segregate those components, in order to make our code more modularized. Right. This is something that we'll get to know. However, we won't be emphasizing on it too much, as this is just an additional exercise. If you want to study more about it, you can definitely do that. But yeah, this won't be a what I say. This won't be a requirement, at least for this course, even for the project as well. This has not been mandatory. Okay. So the first question is, which of the following are the advantages of SFC? So SFC means single file components. So as I just mentioned, means if you are defining a single file component, a .vue file, you can make your code more modularized in order to define the template, or what I say, the HTML, the CSS, or the JavaScript that belongs to a particular component. You can make it separate from other components. So what it does is it provides us scope-based CSS, because in case of Vue application, you cannot put CSS in a component like we have been doing so far. Vue.component, and you define certain HTML tags within it. What you can do is you can define the CSS on the top level in your main index.html file. Right? But component defining SFCs will allow you to put CSS for each component separately. Of course, it will help us to modularize our code, modularize the components that we have been using in the project. Pre-compiled template means, of course, means if you are working with some .vue files, this is something that a browser cannot really understand. So what we need to do is we need to convert these files into some different format. So what is basically done is these .vue files are converted into the JS files, right? So that the browser can understand and can execute that JS code. So this is why we say that those templates are pre-compiled. Right? They need certain kind of compiler in order to interpret those, in order to convert those .view files into JS files that browser can understand and can execute. So yeah, as I'm mentioning again and again, that this is something that you will get to know in more details probably in week 7. So for now, means all of the above is basically the answer for that question, since SFC provides all of these advantages. Anyone has any issues? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm not sure if my internet is that much good today. I think I would have to ask, am I audible again and again? Not sure. Okay. Yeah, please let me know means whenever my voice starts breaking so that I can adjust accordingly. Okay. So the sections or the blocks in which you basically define your single file component and the different types of blocks you use in order to define it. What are they? As I said, you will require some HTML in order to create a component. So you can specify your HTML in the template. The script will basically the JS code, and style is the scope-based styling that will apply only to that particular component and means won't be shared among other components unless you want to. So again, the answer would be all of the above for this question is that. Okay, so we just have 2 questions. Anyways, yeah. Yeah, anyone having any doubts till now? Okay. Yeah, so let's move to the next category, that is view testing. Again, this has been explained on a very high level in the lecture, but still we'll try to walk through some of the questions. So which of the following tools can be used to support testing in Vue? Just Chai and this Mocha, they are the JavaScript testing engines, can be used to support testing in Vue as well as whatever framework or whatever library the Vue will be using in order to write some test. That means all of those things would probably be using these kind of engines under the hood. It's very certainly, yeah, this will be happening very certainly. But PyTest is basically something that is used in Python. So yeah, that doesn't get included with Vue testing. So that's why. So apart from Python, all of the others have the correct answers for this question. So just Chai and Mocha, they all are helpful for testing basically JavaScript, not only Vue. You can test any JavaScript code with the help of these 3 things. Which of the following tests can be performed on a Vue application? So all kind of tests can be performed as you would normally do with a standard application. You can do unit testing in order to check each and every component separately for the application if all of them are working. End-to-end testing and cross-browser testing means how the app reacts when used on different kind of browsers. So again, the answer is gonna be all of the above. You can perform all of the testings on a Vue application as well. And of course, on any kind of application, you could perform these testings. So this is something again related to the libraries. Which of the following libraries can be used for form validation? So vValidate and VueLidate, they both are libraries that are supported by Vue in order to perform form validations. So yeah, both A and B is gonna be the answer for that question. Anyone having any doubts so far? Okay, shall we go ahead with the practice questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, okay. So I hope we'll get some participation in this activity. This is quite interesting as well. So which of the following is true about session storage? The options are there right in front of. Like to answer this question, which all options are correct, which all are wrong. Yeah, anyone would like to answer?
So can I?
Yeah, sure.
It stores data in the form of key value pairs in the browser for an origin, and then it expires when the paid session ends. And I think these are the only two.
Okay, so according to you, the first option is the second option, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, that's true about session storage. So yeah, as you mentioned, it stores the data in the form of key value pairs in the browser for a particular origin. Can anyone explain what does this origin mean here? Anyone?
Sir, a particular domain name.
Okay, domain name. Is it the only thing that comes under origin part?
That is whichever browser send the request for the session. Is that the origin?
Yeah, so origin here basically comprises of three things. I think one of you said domain, it is almost the correct thing, but yeah, just want to add to that. It comprises of mainly three things. You can basically name it as URL. A URL also comprises of mainly three things. That is, first is the protocol, second is the domain name, and third is the port. That means if you would have stored a key value pair, let's say for abc.com, now the information that you have stored for that particular origin. So what is origin here? abc.com and whatever the port number is and whatever the protocol is. Most probably it would be HTTPS. Right. So if you have set up a key value pair in a local storage or probably in a session storage for that origin, let's say abc.com, the same data or the same key value pair, it cannot be accessed by a different domain. Let's say example.com. So that's what it means for a particular origin. That means a domain cannot access the data set by a particular domain by another domain. So is that clear? An origin comprises of mainly three things. One is protocol, second is domain, and third one is the port. In the similar way, let's say if Google is setting up some maybe certain key values pairs, then some other domain, let's say, then Microsoft cannot access it. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So next question is almost the same, just that the keyword has now changed from session. It has become local. So which all options are correct this time? The first option will remain correct even for this question as well. You also store key value pairs and for a particular origin. But of course, since first option is correct, none of the above cannot be the correct answer. So do you
Option
think?
3, sir.
Okay, so local storage data persists even after the paid session expires. Yeah, definitely. So as we have discussed it in the activity questions for the first lecture itself, local storage is something that is persistent. Okay, I think this will require me to minimize, zoom out a bit. Okay, let's first read the question. Say you open the index.html file in a browser and write Abhi in the text input box being shown on the screen and force reload the page, right? Without clicking anywhere. What will be the value in the text input box and the class applied to the paragraph element with text correct? So correct question mark is basically the text that is being shown in this paragraph element. So yeah, the question says that there is an input text box that would be shown on the screen for the very first time when you will open this app in a browser. Let's say you enter Abhi in it, and suddenly you do force reload. Now, when the page will appear again after being refreshed, what would be the value shown in this input text box, and what would be the class associated with this paragraph element? So yeah, here is the code. Then there in front of you. In HTML, there is just a single input element, which is using two-way directive V model with property name. And yeah, I think, yeah. So I will just focus on the JS code here. I think you can read this code and can predict the answer for this question. Yeah, are you trying to read the code? Can you predict the answer? What do you feel? What the answer would be?
So I think that API will be remaining on the text box, because even if it's force reloaded, it will it will check, it will during mounting phase, it will mount that name onto the this one the V on change check. That name will be pasted on the text box, input box.
Okay. So there is one more thing that I want to point out here is that we are using the change event here. The app is listening to the change event. So change event is, it will only be triggered when after typing something, after changing some value in the input text box, you click out of it. If you will not click, this event won't be triggered. That means if you are just writing even a longer text and try to hard refresh it, this event won't get. Change itself means when you are clicking outside of the text input box. Yeah, now what do you think? What the answer would be? You can read the question statement here once again. It is saying that you enter Abhi in the text input box and force reload the page without clicking anywhere. What do you think? What will be the value that will be shown in the text input box and the class associated with the paragraph element? Okay, so let me try to just walk through this question. So what is happening here is we are providing an input element with v model associated to a variable called name. We are also associating it with an event called change. Whenever this event will get triggered, we will invoke a function called check. Now, as the question says, that you enter a text b in the input text box and you force reload the page. That means you are not clicking anywhere. Right? Even it is mentioned in the brackets here that you are not clicking anywhere after entering the text. So if you don't click anywhere else, means, if you don't click outside that text input box, this event won't get triggered. If this event won't get triggered, that means you are not even calling the check function at all. Now, in that case, if the check function is not triggered, you are not storing anything in the local storage account, since this check function is not triggered, right? Because the code to basically store the data, the key value pairs, is written inside this method itself, inside the check method. If we are not triggering this check method, data won't be stored in the local storage. When the app will be refreshed and will be shown on the screen, this mounted, of course, this hook will get triggered while compiling the app. So it will check if local storage.name, does this property exist in the local storage? So as we see that since we didn't click on the means outside the text input box, the change event didn't get triggered. In that case, the check method will again won't be triggered. That means no data is there in the local storage. So this is gonna return undefined. Now, since it is gonna return undefined, none of these statements will be executed, since this if condition has become false. Now, if the condition has become false, that means there will be no text shown on this v model, since they will be initialized with the initial value that they had. That means name will be an empty string, is error will have the value true. Right. So in that case, the name value would be empty, and since is error is true, since this is true, that means this class will be associated. That is button danger. So this is basically a conditional expression, a ternary expression, where it is a condition. If it evaluates to true, this class will be associated with the class attribute. If it is false, then the class written after the colon will get associated. But since this value of is error is true, the first class, that is danger class, will get associated with this paragraph element. So in that case, the answer would be empty and danger. Do you have any doubts in this?
No, sir.
Okay, all right. I hope the thing is clear, what is happening in this question and why this answer comes up. Now, here's the fourth question. Let me just increase the screen or see if there are any questions related to coding. Yes, there are. So let us just go through this coding question once. After that, we'll get back to these theory-based questions. I'll zoom in then. Okay, so what is happening here is that the below code is trying to validate a form, ensuring the number of items ordered are 10. That means the number of items that a user is going to order, they must be exactly 10. And the minimum of 2 items of each. That means there are certain products that are available from which user can buy, and the user must buy at least 2 items, that whatever are available, and their total should be 10. So in order to basically put validation like this, we have to fill in the value of code1 placeholder. So code1 is written here. Now let us just walk through the code quickly here. What is this? This is basically a form which is saying that submit.prevent. That means it is asking the HTML or the browser that you don't need to send a request. Once a user click on the submit button, I will be doing my validation myself, and after that we can return a value, and after that you can make a request. Right. So the very first thing here is the if errors.length. That is not something we are emphasizing here. So yeah, main thing starts here. Input v model dot number. So dot number basically it will it will be a number only. It won't be the text. There is an item called bread. There is an item called cheese, and there is an item called butter. Now, user would be selecting some numbers in each of those text boxes, and then the user will click on the submit. As soon as the user will click on the submit button, this will get triggered, submit.prevent, and this validate form method will get triggered. So here is the validate form. What we are doing is we are saying that this dot errors to be an empty list. So errors is basically a variable that is defined in this instance. We are resetting it to an empty list. And after that, we are asking what should be the code here. It is also basically, giving us a useful message that is to be put inside the error, that minimum quantity of each item should be 2. Even the question statement initially said that the total number of items, they must be exactly 10. And the quantity of each item, it must be at least 2. Right? So we need to fill in something in order to make this validation foolproof. So we have already checked that if the total is not equals to 10, we are saying that total must be 10. So yeah, in that case, this error message will be pushed. But here we need to check that if the user has selected, or if user has entered at least 2 items in each of those categories. So what do you think, which of these options would be a correct choice in place of code 1 placeholder? Yes, what do you think?
Sir, in between 2 or 4, second and fourth option.
Second and fourth option. Okay. I'm trying to find something different in second and fourth option.
Sir, I'm actually also confused. Like they are, I think, similar.
Yeah, second and fourth option, I guess they are similar.
There should be an equal to sign there in one of the options.
Okay. All right. So we'll correct it after this session. All right. Yeah. But anyways, the second and fourth are not going to be the answer for this questions. For this question.
Yes, sir. It should be or in between.
Definitely.
Yeah, it should be yeah.
Because if any of those items quantity is less than 2, we need to trigger this validation. We need to trigger an error. In that case, what it basically asks is that all of those must be less than 2. But in case if only butter is less than 2 and rest of the 2 are greater than 2, so in that case this thing will not work. So that's why we need this type of validation or this type of condition to be put in this place of code, right? Where we use OR operator in order to check. Is that okay? Yeah, shall we move to the next question? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the next question is that the extension of an SFC, a single file component, what it basically is, it's .view, as we have already discussed. JS is for JavaScript, HTML is for HTML file, and it is .view for a single file component. The next question is, which of the following view directives can be used to selectively display error messages? The options are vIf, vShow, vHTML, both A and B. Let me repeat this question once again. Which of the following view directives can be used to selectively display? Selectively means there would be a condition that will either evaluate to true or false, according to which means we will show or remove that element. So what do you think, which can help us in order to evaluate the conditions of the expressions?
Both the VIF and VShow can be used.
Yeah, so VIF definitely can be used. It will basically simply remove the element from the DOM if the condition evaluates to false. But VShow will retain it in the DOM, but will just change its CSS property display to none, so that it is not shown in the DOM, but it's actually available in the so question 9, form data validations can be done at client side, server side, both A and B, and only on the client side. I think, yeah, that's an easy question to answer. You can put
C
validation.
option.
Yeah, you can do it at both client and server end. I think we have left few questions. Okay, yeah, we jumped on to the coding question directly. Let me just zoom in. Yeah, okay. So fourth option is none of the above. I hope it is visible. Yeah, so which of the following statements is false? In general, data should be validated at server side. The JavaScript validations at client side ensure that every request sent to the server is validated and it need not be validated at server end again. Third option, the browser provides simple validations for certain type of input elements. Fourth option is none of the above. So is there any statement that you think is false out of first three options?
B option.
Okay, why?
Sir, we need to validate at the server end also.
Why? The reason? There is a clarification here that the JavaScript validations at client side ensure. Let's say you have put all of the validations in the client end as well with the help of JavaScript. That is doing exactly the same thing that you are doing on the server. Why won't that work? That's the question.
If sir JavaScript is disabled in the client, then how it will validate?
Correct. Very good. Yeah.
Sir,
So in case
another security issue is that say if some malicious agent sends URL directly to the server without bypassing the whole validation step, then that will also be a problem.
Yeah, definitely. You can even use the command line clients, like say curl, in order to send a request. Right? You are simply trespassing that JavaScript validations. Since you are not sending the request using a browser, it would be simply trespassed. Yeah, okay. So that's why the second option here is a false statement, because JavaScript validations can never ensure that a request is validated, that a server is getting. The reasons we have already discussed, there can be multiple ways. Okay, so which of the following are the advantages of client-side storage? What do you think? Which of these shown options can be considered the advantages?
Option A suggests that the web-generated documents are used offline if we opt for client-side storage, so it is correct.
Okay.
And we can also use the client-side storage for storing or personalizing the site preferences for the user.
Okay.
So yeah, A
Is
and
that
B
an
are.
advantage?
Yeah, obviously, if we use client-side storage, then it would be better for the client as well, and we need not need to always send the data to the server.
Okay.
Obviously, as it is client side, so obviously data can't be stored across devices.
Yeah.
I don't know about D.
So what do you think? The third one is an advantage or what?
I guess not.
Yeah, it's not an advantage, because the point itself is wrong. you cannot store that same data across devices.
Yeah.
That is specific to a single browser. Yeah, the fourth option, indexed DB. So it can be used to store audio or video files. In fact, means whatever that can be converted in the form of binary, anything can be stored on indexed DB. We can store them in the binary format. So yeah, that's an advantage. So yeah, first, second, and fourth are basically the advantages for client-side storages, and the third one is you can consider it as a disadvantage, or well, yeah, the way it is written, it is a disadvantage that you cannot access it across the devices, but it sometimes is, it sometimes is mandatory. It's necessary just for the security purposes or the privacy purposes for the user. Okay, all right. So we are done with all of the activity and the practice questions for this particular week, week 6. I'm not sure how many lectures you have completed watching, but I hope maybe if you would have watched the whole session till now, you would at least find understanding those lectures are slightly easier. Now, what we will do is we will do a small demonstration on how to use local storage, session storage, and cookies. Right. I hope my screen is still shared and is visible to everyone.
Yeah.
I'll just hope. Can I use this one itself? Well, let me create a server of my own. It'll be easier for me. Okay, we are into week 6. What will I do is I'll just create a simple server, okay, a simple HTTP server. What I need is, let me just open it in the VS Code. Need index.js file. Okay, and I will be using an extension called live server. I hope you all know about this extension. Maybe many of you would have been using it from a long time now. Okay, so
Yes.
I'll, yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry, someone was saying something.
No, sorry, I just said yes, sir, for that live server thing.
Okay. Console.log. Hello. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So since many of you have been using it, let's do a simple activity. I'll just open the console for this web page, and I'll see in the console, here it is. I'll just put them side by side. Right? See, I am trying to execute this console.log hello, but I'm not getting this message here. Can anyone tell me the reason why?
Sir, it should be put inside document.
Inside document
Means JS file cannot be directly rendered in browser.
Correct. Yeah. So we need to have an HTML file which basically includes this JS file as a reference, right? So we need to create an index.html, means any file. So I'll just create index.html. Let me just put the boilerplate code here. And all right. So index.js, saves it, and we'll just delete it. Let me close it. I have tested this index.js. Hope this should work fine. Okay. Yeah, we are getting this hello world in console. All right. Okay, so just to test, I'll try to change the text here and see if it is working. At the moment I save, it should get reflected here. Yeah, so it is getting. Okay. The very first thing that we would be trying out here is, let's say, cookies. Let us see how cookies works. So in order to get to those, I'll go to the application tab and we'll see cookies, right? So right now, I don't have any cookies. I don't have anything in my local storage. I would be having a key value pair stored in my session storage. The reason is that I'm using a live server extension here, so it is setting up a key value pair in my session storage. So we can simply ignore that as of now. Yeah, since we are working with cookies, I am on the cookies section here. Can anyone tell me how can we set up a cookie with the help of JavaScript? Well, most probably in most of the cases, definitely we do it using server. Like we do it on the server in order to set the cookies on the browser on the client side. But yeah, just for the testing kind of purposes, let's see how to create cookies here on the client side using JS. Yeah, so anyone knows how can we do that to set up cookies on client end? Okay.
For document.cookies.
Yeah, all right. So we use the document object and access this cookie object. Right. So what it accepts is accepts a key value pair, but in a slightly different manner. What we do is we type this whatever the key name is inside these codes. So let's say the name, whatever the key name, let's say name itself. And in order to give a value to this key, what we do is we separate those key value pairs with this equals to symbol, right? And let's say the name is gonna be a B, or it can be anything, right? So the moment I'll save this, you can see that one cookie will appear. Right. So I saved that this file here index.js, and you can see that cookie is now available. It is saying that the name is name, and you can see the value here is a value here is a B. Let me show you it in details. So name is the key is name, the value is Abhi, domain, forward domain, this cookie is being set. So you can say it is set for 127.0.0.1. The reason simply is that we are accessing this web page on this IP address. So that's why it is set for that particular domain. What is the path? Since we are on the root path as of now, it is set on the root path. Expires or maximum age, when will this cookie expire? So it is a session based cookie. We have not passed any attribute, so it will get expired with the session. The size and HTTP, I guess we can ignore it as of now, right? Okay, let us try to store one more cookie. Or let's say if I want to, yeah, sorry, someone is saying something.
Sir, one question here. Cookie is property or cookie is another object?
You can consider it as an object.
Like document is object, okay, and
yeah.
Cookie is property or of the document object.
Yeah, you can say.
Okay.
Sir, one question I had.
Yeah.
This size, which is 8, how is that size determined? Is it the number of characters?
No, there are certain other parameters through which the size is determined. So that's why I said we need not worry about this as of now. Okay, yes, it is one of those things. Of course, the number of characters that you are storing, it is one of those things, but there are certain other things that are also applied. Okay, so yeah, this is how we set up one cookie. Now, can someone tell me, let's say, if I want to change the value of this, let's say, cookie, the key will remain name, but I want to change this value from Abhi to something else. How can I do this?
So just change the value.
Okay, so I'll change the value here. Will that change the value here? It's here also.
I think, sir, I don't know.
Yeah, it will do that. So it is, just basically, one can say, yes, we are trying to create a new cookie. So since this key already exists, what it will do is it will update its value. That's it. I think it's. So the moment I'll save it, the value will get changed. If I can show you here. Yeah. So you can see this value has now become Abhishek, right? Okay. In the same way, if I need to set up more cookies, what I can do is I can create as many as cookies as I want. Let's say this time I can create something for, let's say age. Right. I just saved that file here, and I can see that one more property or one more cookie has now been created. That is age with value 22 and some expire and maximum age. Okay. Basically, there are certain other parameters that we can pass while creating these cookies. One of them is basically the path. That means if we want to, create this cookie on a different path, let's say. Right now we are on the root path, so everything will be created on root. Let's say I want to create this age on. I'll create it on a path. Let's say hello, right? And the moment I think I can change the value from age to, let's say any key, just for experimentation purpose. I'm saying that the name of the key is key, the name of the value, the value to the key is value, and I want to create this cookie on this path, that is /hello. So this is my path. The moment I save it, let me just show this. So you can see that it is still showing name and age. You don't see that value being added here, that cookie being added here. Can anyone tell me the reason?
Because we have not cleared age cookie.
Yeah, we have not cleared, but why the next cookie that we have just created, that is not being appeared here?
Sir, it will be available at /hello domain. At root node.
Yeah, so it is available at this hello endpoint. What will I do is I'll just open this here, and I'll go to that endpoint. It was hello, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, hello. So it is saying cannot get hello since we don't have any endpoint defined, but still let's go to console or the application tab and see if we have any cookie. So you can see that, yeah. So you can see that we have the previous two cookies as well. Since we executed the file, those two cookies have been saved here as well. And we are getting an additional cookie that is specific to this endpoint with path /help. What that means is that this, what I say, this hello can access the properties or can access the cookies that are set for the root path, but the root path doesn't have the access to the keys that are available. Right? So if you want, you can set the cookies for a specific path. I'll just close this, or sorry, let me just clear that. Okay, this is one thing. The other parameter that we can use here is, let's say maximum age. That means when this cookie will get expired. So this maximum age accepts the value in milliseconds. Let's say I can just, sorry, not in milliseconds, actually in seconds. So let's say if I'll give the value as 30 here, the moment I'll basically refresh this file. Okay, I think I have, anyways, yeah. The moment I'll just save this file, you can see that this cookie will be added here. If it is not added already, yeah, it's not added already. So you will see this key value will get added here, and after waiting for 30 seconds, that cookie will get deleted. Means we need to refresh it, but yeah, after 30 seconds, if we'll refresh, that cookie will be deleted from this display. So let's say, let me save it. So you can see that key value pair has now been added here with name key and value is value. I am refreshing it, but this value is still here. Let us just wait for the 30 seconds to get over. After that, we'll be able to see when we will refresh this, this cookie will automatically get deleted. Yeah, so you can see I refreshed and that cookie got deleted. Right? So this is how we can even set some parameters to our cookies, that how long should that cookie persist. Well, in case you need to maintain the sessions, you basically keep the time spent short, so that just for the security purposes or the privacy purposes of the user. Yeah. So yeah, this is how you can create cookies. Yeah. Okay. Let me just delete this maximum age parameter and save it. So now you can see we have two key value pairs stored here. Now, if I want to fetch what all cookies are available in my browser for a specific origin, how can I do it? I can basically print them on the console, but unfortunately there is no simple way in order to fetch a single key value pair. What it will do is it will give us all of the cookies that are stored for a specific origin separated by semicolons. So I'll just say document.cookie and I'm logging it on the console. I'll just refresh it and I'll go back to the console tab. So you can see it just gave me back all of the key value pairs that are stored separated by semicolons. If I would have, let's say, more 8 or 10 key value pairs stored, those would have been resulted here as well, separated by semicolons. So this is a simple demonstration of how cookies can be created using JS. Well, if we talk about the actual purpose or the actual usage of cookies, so they are mainly used in order to maintain the sessions, right? Okay, can someone tell me that how cookies are different from, let's say, local storage or session storage? In what sense? What makes cookies different from session storage or, let's say, local storage?
We can time them.
Okay, we can time them. That can be done with session storage as well somehow. Or what are the advantages that it offers over local storage or over session storage? Of course, it may have a lot of disadvantages, but of course, it comes with a lot of advantages as well. Well, basically, what I say, why even in today's world, cookies are used very extensively in order to maintain the sessions. Why?
So predominantly we store session ID there.
Yeah, correct. Why don't they store it in session storage or local storage?
So because it is time to be expired at a certain timestamp.
Okay, let's say in case I want to, allow a user to maintain an infinite time session. In that case, would you be using cookie or local storage? What will be the most easiest for you? Most easiest thing?
No idea about that.
Okay, no issues. So basically, a big advantage that cookies offers us is something that it gets sent to each request automatically. Right. The moment server basically creates some cookies on my machine, the next request I will send to the same server, means to the same domain, the cookies that were set by the server previously will automatically get sent with my request in order to let the server know that I am this person and I'm trying to request something else. Right. At the same point, if you want to, store some information in the client storage or in the session storage, yes, you can send the information to the browser, but that won't happen automatically. You need to write the code explicitly in order to send those things with the request. Right. That is a great advantage that cookies carry over the other stuff, that it gets automatically sent with each request. Okay? So that's why they are easier to maintain the sessions and all. Yeah, as you mentioned, means they are highly used or they are extensively used in order to maintain the sessions. Okay. Okay, means if we have talked about this, cookies being sent to the server for a specific origin, can anyone tell me, let's say I want to send some local storage, or let's say I want to send some key value pair stored in session storage with my request. How can I send it? Is there any trivial way that you know to do that? Any easier way that you can think of right now? Okay, no issues. Let me tell you. I think you all are now familiar with the fetch API. So if you want to send some information that is stored on your local storage, you can append it in your headers, right? So while making a fetch API call, you're also, if you want, you can also include some headers. You can include some extra information in the request if you want to. In the same way, if you want to send some of that information, you can append that in the head. Right? A very trivial way. There might be some other ways to do so as well. But yeah, that's one of the trivial ways that I can think of right now. Okay, all right. Okay, there is one more thing. The storage that cookies offer us, it is very limited. So it is quite limited to 4 KB or a maximum of 5 KB. You cannot store, more data above than 4 KB or 5 KB. Yeah, so we have discussed the use cases of cookies. They are highly used in order to maintain the sessions, right? The simple reason being they are automatically sent with the request. And one more thing is that, well, this may not be that much important, that cookies are also supported by HTML4, right? So if there is any browser that doesn't support HTML5 yet, I really don't know if there is any browser that doesn't support HTML5 as of now. But still, if there is anything, so cookies are supported with HTML4 as well. So yeah, it can work with older browsers as well. While local storage and this session storage, this was introduced with HTML5. Yeah, is that okay? Someone saying something? Sorry, I can hear some sound. Yeah, is that cookies okay? Shall we move to the next thing? Maybe session storage?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, let me just quickly delete it. I'll delete the cookies as well. Okay. Okay. Now what will I do is I will use the session storage. So I have two ways. I can either use the API or I can directly use it as an object. Okay. So let's try it using an object. I'll say session storage, and I want to define an attribute in this object. And let's say that attribute can be, let's say name again. And this time I'll set it to, okay, Abhi, okay. Yeah, just as it is. Now I saved it. I will go to my session storage, and you can see along with this that is set by this, what I say, the extension, live server extension of PS browser. I can also find one more key value here, name Abhi. If you want, you can also change this value from here, right? You can put it anything, but the moment I'll save here, it will again get refreshed to what we defined here. Okay. Yeah. So now we are able to create a key value pair in the session storage. Now, what we have been studying about session storage is that it gets automatically terminated as soon as we basically closes the page, or it is not even available on the different tabs, right? So now what will I do is I'll just comment this line. Why I'm commenting this line, I'll let you know. I'll again open the browser and I'll open this link again in a different tab. And if I'll inspect in this new tab, application tab, so you will see that I don't see any key value pair that I set it up previously. There is just this single session that is established by the VS Code extension. The reason I commented out this code, because if I will try to open it in a new URL, this file will automatically get run again, and it will automatically create a key value pair here as well. That's why I commented this. The moment I uncomment it and press Control S, it creates this here as well, name and okay. Now let me close this. Let me close this as well. Now what will I do is I will again comment it, and I'll stop the server, and I'll run the server again and see if that information is still there or not. I'll again say go live. I'll open it here. I'll see my application tab, and yes, you can see that that key value pair has now been removed from the tab, right? Since the session got cleared, this is a new session, and that's why we are not having any information in this particular session. Right. So this is how session storage works. You can store some key values pairs in it, but remember that those will get terminated with the session. Right? The moment you close the tab or your browser, they will get deleted. Yeah. Similarly, if you want to work with the local storage, you can do so. Instead of this name, what could I have done is I could have used the API methods that it provides. Let's say set item, where the first argument here would be the key name. The second argument will be the value. I'll delete the rest of the things. Moment I hit enter and see here. So you can see that name and Abhi, again, it's been created. And if I want to remove this item, I can do that as well. Session storage dot remove item. I need to provide the key name that I want to get deleted. And the moment I execute this file, run this file, it will get deleted. Let's say I want to set few more key value pairs here. Let's say one is age, the other one is, let's say, 56. Or let me just try 56. So you can see we have created these two key value pairs here. Now, the moment I say session storage dot clear, so what it will do is it will clear all of these key value pairs that are currently there in the session. The moment I refresh, so you can see all of this is gone. The other methods that it provides us is length. What it results us is means how many key value pairs are stored currently in this session. What will I do is I'll simply log it on the console. Okay, and the moment I'll come back to my console, it should tell us 3, because there is one more key value pair that is set it up by the extension. So see, it is saying 3, that there are 3 key value pairs that exist. Is there anything else that we can use? There is something called key. So what this key does is it basically accepts an index and returns the name that is stored at that particular index, or basically the key value that is stored at that particular index. So if I'll say 0, let's see in our application tab and see which one comes first. So name is the one that is there on the first, 0th index. the moment I'll try to log it on the console, it will return us the name. Right. Yeah, so it gives us name. The one, if I'll try to access the value at 1, so it will give me the second, I guess it was age. Okay, it was this that was used by this extension. So if I'll say 2, it will give me that age. And can anyone tell me, or can anyone guess what will happen if I'll try to enter an index that doesn't even exist?
There will be indexed error, sir.
It will basically return us null. That no such key exists, so it is returning us. Okay. Yeah, so these are pretty much the methods that we can use with session storage. Same methods can be used with local storage as well, but we will see what else can we do. Yeah, we'll also see one example that, okay, let me show it right away here. I am saying that I want to store an object here, and let's say object. Okay, I will define this object, very trivial object. Let's say I1. Okay, very simple thing. Let's see what is gonna appear here in the session storage, what it's gonna actually store. So you can see the key is okay. The key name was supposed to be object, but in the value I pass an object itself, right? That object was having a value this, where it was having one attribute I with value 1. But you can see how it gets stored in the actual session storage. And the moment we will try to fetch it, right, I'll say session storage dot get item. I will pass the key. The key is a object. Let us go back to the console. You will see that we'll get exactly the same thing that was being shown there. Right, we are getting this object. Right? So this is a problem. Means in case we want to store some complex data structures in our session storage, local storage, or cookies, how do we do that? Okay, so let me tell you how this can be done. Yeah, can anyone tell me how this can be done? If anyone has watched the lecture. Or okay, let me just try to show you console.log. Okay, just a minute. Console.log obj. We get an object here, right, with some properties. Okay. Yeah. Can anyone tell me if I want to store this object as it is, so that I will be able I will be able to fetch this object whenever I need in the form that I want to.
So do we convert it into a JSON?
Okay, but yeah, I think we discussed that it basically needs to be stored in a string format. There was one of the questions where we discussed this, that what should be the data type of the storage of what we want to store in local storage or session storage. So yeah, you are correct. We can basically convert it into a different data type. And what data type? It should be a string. So can anyone tell me how can I convert an object into a string?
ToString.
How an object can be, sorry?
Sir, ToString.
Okay, ToString. Right, let's see. No, this is not working. So ToString is not available with this object. Okay, I think we read about one method in week 2 lecture. in the week 2 last lecture when we were learning about the JSON API. Does anyone remember? Stringify, correct. So we can use the Stringify method here of JSON API in order to convert it into a format that we can fetch easily. Stringify. I think it is okay. All right, yeah. The moment I save it, you can see I am able to store this object in the form that I wanted. Okay. But again, there is a small problem. Let me tell you about the problem. Well, the problem is that if I will try to fetch this value console.session storage. What was the name? Name was object. The moment I try to log this value on the console, see what I get. I get a string here. You can see that I am getting a string. If it would have been an object, I could do some other experimenting, like what is the prototype of this object is associated with it, what are the methods I can use, something like that. So the simple reason is that it is a string, right? Let us just use the type of method in order to confirm. So see, it is telling us that it's a string. So now can someone tell me, if we want to convert a string back to an object, what can we do? How a string can be converted back to an object?
By decoding the JSON.
Yeah, how that can be done?
Sir, JSONify.
Yeah, JSONify is used to convert an object into string. But in order to convert it back into the object that it was initially, which method can be used? It is also associated with JSON API. I think 2 of the methods were introduced in that JSON API lecture. The second method was parse method. Right. So what we'll do is we will simply parse this string and we'll take an object out of it. We'll say JSON.parse session storage.object. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Now you can see that we are getting a complete object, right? Because we can even look through inside it. What are the things? What are the prototype? What are the properties associated with it, right? Yeah. So in case you want to store a complex type of object in the memory, what you need to do is you need to convert it into the string, so that when you want to fetch it back, you can get what you wanted to. Right. Similar way, whatever method that we have seen for session storage here, right? The same things can be used with a local storage as well. The set item method in order to create a key value pair, remove item in order to remove it. What else? The key. So key basically gives us back the key that is stored at a particular index. Clear will clear everything in that particular storage. Length will tell us how many key value pairs are currently stored. Some things like that. Now, if I'll go to application, you can see that I have some number of key value pairs being stored here. Right. I'll just simply close this. I close this. I'll stop the server. Well, no need to stop the server, but still, I'll come back on the server again, and we'll see if there is anything in my session storage or not. So you can see my session storage has now finished. There is nothing. Right? The moment I try to delete this cookie, nothing happens. But the moment I refresh this page, it will automatically be created again. Right? Yeah. So it came here. Okay. Yeah. Now let us do similar kind of things with local storage as well. As we know, it is persisting, so we will be able to fetch back the same content even after resetting the browser. Okay. Okay, so local storage, again, we can use methods like set item. Again, I'll use this name. The moment I save this, I will be able to see this name and Abhi, this key value pair being stored in the local storage. Let's say I'll add a few more. Say age 22 and okay. Anything, no need to worry. Key and well, okay. Now I'll just save this and I can see all of these values will appear here in my local storage. Let us just try to remove some of those. I'll say that local storage dot remove item. I want to remove, let's say, a key with name key itself. The moment I save this key will get deleted, right? When I'll do clear, everything will be deleted. Sorry, everything will be deleted. Okay. Now, if I will say I want to access what is the key that is stored at the index 1. So what is going to be the output now? Can anyone tell me what will be the output? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I thought, yeah, again got disconnected. Okay, so yeah, what value will we get here? If I try to log the value of local storage dot key with index 1. Any guesses? What would come?
It would
Now,
come
since,
null.
yeah, it will come definitely. So I'll just go back to console and we'll see. So you can see it is null. The simple reason being we have nothing in our local storage. So I'll just, now I'll save the app again. Sorry, save this script again. Now this will give us age. Sorry, in whatever order it gets stored in the. Okay, what it gives us was name. Okay, yeah, it gives us name. Age is 0 index, name is 1 index. Okay. Again, if you want to store an object, you can stringify your object into first string. And when you want to fetch it back, you can use the parse method of JSON API in order to again convert it into the object that it was before. Yeah, so let's try one last thing. I'll just close this. I shouldn't have closed this. I'll just open a new tab here. 27, this one, and I'll see if the local storage is still available in this tab. So you can see those key value pairs are still here. Now I'll close this, I'll close this, I'll close the server and we'll restart it again. And we can see that the values will still be there. Yeah. So these three key value pairs still persist. Even we closed the server, we started it again, and we came back and see these three key value pairs are still persisting here in the local storage. The same was not the case with the session storage. Yeah, okay. So this is pretty much what I wanted to cover in today's session. So I am done. Yeah, if you guys have any queries, you may ask now.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
As you said that whenever a browser send a request to the server,
Yeah,
all the cookies get sent to the server. Okay.
yeah, correct.
Is it also true for the what is session?
No, no, it's not true. Until and unless you don't write the code explicitly, this won't get sent.
Okay. To send the session, we have to write code explicitly.
Yeah, you can append this session in the headers in your request, the easiest way, or maybe you can do it maybe using some different ways if you want. But yeah, that won't get automatically sent.
And suppose, sir, we are setting session with JavaScript as well as from the backend, like with Flask, we can
Okay,
also set the session.
okay. You mean cookies,
So
right?
yes, sir, cookie.
Okay.
So in that case, will there be any clash between the key value pair?
I didn't get it. What type of clash?
Suppose, sir, we are writing document.cookie name
Okay.
and Abhishek,
Yeah.
and from the server side,
Mhm.
there is also a script in Flask
Yeah.
that is also going to set cookie
Yeah.
with
Whatever the
name
last
name.
value would be, that would be updated. Right? Let's say you first created a cookie using JavaScript, and you say that name was equal to A. Now, after that, the Flask server set it up a cookie in your browser for that particular domain, and it changed its value to B. So the latest value for that B, the last updated value is B. A is lost.
So, sir, how it assumes the order?
Order means sorry.
Means suppose first of all, our Flask application is going to set cookie,
Yeah.
and then after there is a script, a JavaScript code inside that particular code,
Okay.
and then it is going to overlap the Flask cookie, or Flask is going to overlap the cookies set by JavaScript.
See, how are you setting the cookies? You are doing it at client end manually, or how? I'm not able to understand this part.
I mean, sir, whatever the code will be written from in the server,
Okay.
and
See,
whatever code
how server will set the cookies is it will append the cookies in the response headers. So my
okay,
question
sir.
is that how are you setting the cookies using JavaScript? Are you setting them manually? Means once you are on a particular web page, then you are changing the value of a certain cookie or something like that. Is it
No,
what you
sir,
are trying to do?
we are just a client and we are accessing the server. And on server, both code has been written. Set the cookie using Flask and set the cookie using JavaScript.
Uh, I still couldn't get it completely. I means why would you do so? That's my question.
Maybe, sir, I don't know, but I was just curious to know whether there be any clash between cookies set by Flask and JavaScript.
So in that case, I would say yes. Again, the last updated value will take up its place. Whatever the last updated value is, that will be persisted, and whatever
Yes.
value that gets updated, that will be lost.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Well, the cookies makes whole sense when you set them using server, means by the server, from the server. Here we just did a small demonstration to just see how cookies work, what are the different parameters. But yeah, it makes more sense when you work with the cookies from the server.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So if we talk about the differences between local storage, session storage, and cookies, so we have already discussed the use cases of cookies. They are mostly used to maintain the sessions. I couldn't show that sample right now, but what I would suggest you right now is that if you have a Facebook account, LinkedIn account, or even a Gmail account, just go there. Go means right click on the web page, go to inspect, go to application tab, and in the cookies, try removing all of the cookies. Right? just click on this button and see your session will be logged out. You will be asked to log in again. You will be kicked out of the session. You can even try this thing right now itself if you want to. Because cookies is something that is maintaining a session between you and the server. So this is something that you can try on your own. The other thing is the storage limitations that each of these storage comes with. As we discussed, that cookies have the least storage. They can only store up to 4 KB or 5 KB of data. Session storage can store up to 5 MB of data. At the same time, local storage is capable of storing up to 10 MBs of data. That's why it is more preferred. Now, if you want to store something that you don't need to send to the server again and again, it is highly recommended that you don't create cookies for that. The simple reason being that cookies are automatically sent to the server with each request. And if you don't need those fields to be sent to the server again and again, you are just increasing the payload. You are just increasing the network, right? So if you have something that can be that can stay on the user's machine, it is highly recommended to use local storage, right? Don't use cookies for that purpose, since it will basically increase the payload size, and of course will result in some it will make the network more slow. So yeah, as we said, means we can also use local storage or session storage in order to send some data to the server, but for that we need to write the code explicitly. Those won't get sent automatically. Cookies is something that gets sent. So yeah, in that case, we can also say that cookies are also maintained on the server. If cookies are being sent to the server again and again, server is able to recognize, yes, yeah, this is a session ID that is being maintained at server, right? Server is also maintaining that session ID somewhere in the database or anywhere else, right? That's why it is able to recognize that, yeah, recognize you, that you are logged in right now, and that's why you should be given this content or something like that. Yeah. Okay, so any questions from anyone? Okay, no questions. Yeah, all right. I'm not sure if the same people were there in the beginning of the session as well. So if anyone else now would like to give the feedback about the quiz, yeah, they can. Anyone who is interested in giving the quiz one feedback? Well, I have been asking for it regularly again and again. Okay, anyways, no issues. Okay, it was hard. It was difficult. Okay, was the means were all of the questions too much difficult, or there was only a specific part that you feel was difficult? So if you want to split the quiz one exam concepts into different portions, you would say one is core JavaScript, the other thing is the view part. Which part was more difficult? Was the core JavaScript part or the view part? Okay, 50% of questions. In order to learn more Vue and JS. Well, the best source to learn Vue, it cannot be anything other than the Vue.js documentation. Okay, Vue was slightly more difficult. yeah, as I mentioned, the best source to read about you will be none other than its documentation. So yes, you should start exploring. There are so many other things that are written in the documentation that are not possible, to basically be covered in the lectures or many of the live sessions, as there is so much to learn. There is so much to explore for you as well. Okay, so yeah, looks like it was a bit difficult, but yeah, it also gives you enough motivation to keep exploring things on your own. All right, so thank you all. Thanks for joining this session. So we'll meet again on Saturday. Hope you would have watched all of the lectures and would have solved all of the questions as well for this particular week. Hope we can have a quality discussion on Saturday. Yeah, thank you everyone. Thanks for joining. Have a good night.